What do you think of Ben so far?
The jury's still out.
What did we just go through?
We just went through the hardest thing I've ever done. It was Hammerfest, and it was like sprinting for 15 minutes for me.
Describe the group we rode with.
Oh my God, they're the fittest people I've ever ridden with. Some people whose legs have never had hair, and they were so fast. I'm jealous.
We had 2 pros.
Oh yeah.
1 national champion from what I understand, and about 18 other people who looked incredibly fit.
Yeah.
And Karsten.
Yeah. But it was fun.
Bike town. What makes a bike town? What makes a town bike friendly? That's what I'm here to find out. My name's Pat. I'm a podcast host. I'm also a cyclist. I used to be a good one. Now, I'm kind of Packfiller. There are things that we could all probably agree every bike town has to have. Obviously, great access to roads for the roadies. Variety of terrain for the off-roadies. Now we're even including into that gravel for the gravel riders. There's also some things that I figure have to be included to make a town a bike town. They gotta have a good infrastructure. Cycling-friendly drivers. They've got to have really good coffee and really good beer. I'm on my way to Bend, Oregon, a town you can't throw a rock without hitting somebody with less than 5% body fat. Yeah, I probably stuck out like a sore thumb. I'm on my way back to finish up this episode and to get some ideas a little bit more into what makes Bend a self-proclaimed bike town. Are they truly what they claim to be? We're going to find out.
I would say it's still a small town because, I mean, even though it's 90,000 people here, it's, there's not a big city within another, 20 miles. You have to go 3 hours to get to a town that's even half the size, and so while it's a small town, you still go 4 miles in any direction and you're out in the middle of nowhere. And that's kind of the appeal for most people, I think, living here is that you have easy access to wilderness area, in short time.
I like to say that mountain bikes had to come before mountain bike trails came around. So there was hardly anything here in the 80s. In the 90s, I remember Phil taking my dad and I out to Phil's trail and showing us his trail in the canyon there. And I'm like, 14 or something. And I'm like, why the hell would anybody put a damn trail out here? Nobody's ever going to ride this shit. Like, it's cool, Phil, but I didn't say this. But I was like, we're in the middle of nowhere. This is stupid. Like, why don't you put them next to town? But
Carl Decker and Ryan Trebon just shooting the shit. And did you notice I'm breathing hard? We're in Bend at Phil's trailhead. I don't know the exact name of the trail, to be honest. I'm gonna have to find that out. But it's gorgeous, single track, dry as a bone, dusty, but beautiful stuff. What do you think so far, Jay?
It's really cool. I like the trail, the big sweeping corners, and it's fun if you want to fly.
Beautiful, yeah.
About the riding itself, what makes it better than any place else, in your opinion?
I wouldn't say it's better than anywhere else. I would say it's more accessible than anywhere else. Yeah. Good accessibility and good progression here. You can start at the bottom and work your way to the top here. And I think that's a really big reason why people flock to this town. the outdoor lifestyle is so accessible.
Yeah.
Especially.
You just ran into him where?
I was up at Whistler.
Oh, Frankworks or?
I think another interesting thing is that there are a lot of
elite athletes that have retired, past Olympians.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, I find that interesting because a lot of them have traveled the world. They've been to some amazing places in the mountains and on their bikes or running. And you come back to the U.S. and you look for similar places. And I think Bend has really kind of harnessed some of those things where you have a town that's big enough to have great music, good food, beer, wine, all those things, and still have outdoors right out your back door. Like you don't have to drive your mountain bike an hour to ride. You don't have to drive that far to ski. All those things are very accessible.
I think I stay here for the same reason that I started riding my bike is there's an amazing community of people. And you keep doing things because you're having fun doing them. And I think the community and the people and just like the camaraderie is really special.
It's the camaraderie around the cycling community, the running community, all the endurance community, the cross-country skiing community. It's infectious. And you come here and you're around it, and it just it's a wonderland almost for endurance sports. I don't know how else to put it, but it's just fantastic.
I'm getting the Disneyland feel, adult
Yeah,
Disneyland.
yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
First of all, it's just this beautiful place, right? I mean, great long road rides. In Bend in Central Oregon, we identified like 4 different routes and gave them to the state and said, look, there's great road riding out here. Let's put this on the map. So Bend has always been a little bit like that. We've been just a little proactive as a community. Went, there's some like really awesome like potential mountain bike riding here. Let's work with the Forest Service. Let's put together a volunteer group. We'll build it, we'll maintain it, we'll partner with the Forest Service. So there's always been this culture of like, hey, let's make it happen, right? It doesn't happen without people coming and saying, let's just get it done.
Cycling's a huge part of the culture of Bend. There are riders who will never race, but just want to ride for fun. They'll use it for commuting. They'll use it just for just going out and riding. That could be on road, that could be off-road. Gravel riding's getting huge now.
I think of Bend as kind of the Boulder of about 20 years ago. It has attracted those people looking for an active lifestyle. And definitely Bend lives, breathes, eats, and drinks beer for that. But I also think that like once you get a nucleus of endurance athletes or people that are wanting that lifestyle, it kind of attracts more people like that. And that's, like you said, per capita, there's more cyclists, more runners, more active folks in this town doing something than a lot of places in the U.S.
And I think with the Boulder comparison, I think those athletes are more accessible in this environment than maybe Boulder. So you just have, and we were talking about this earlier, it's just the accessibility of, being able to be around like elite professional athletes. And, there's something to that. I think people want to be a part of that, like you were saying.
Well, last time we visited, we didn't have an opportunity to do much gravel riding. Gravel riding, obviously, is the big new thing, and we're going to get an opportunity to see some of Ben's gravel offerings, I guess we could say. My good friend Karsten has offered to take me out for a little spin and show me what the roads are like around here. I'm parked outside of Karsten's house, and we're going to be able to ride to the location. Now, keep in mind, he is in Bend proper. He is in the city. He is not in some outskirts ranch or anything like that. And access to gravel roads when you can ride from your house and still be in a fairly large city is going to say something.
We're spoiled for choice with stuff that's close that we all consider to be good but not amazing because we've been on it a lot, but also it's pretty mellow stuff. Like there's not big 3,000-foot steep climbs with switchbacks on the road. There's not steep descents on your mountain bike unless you get in your car. And then you go an hour and a half in a few different directions, and you get into any of that stuff you kind of want. But you don't have to, so you end up riding all this stuff that's right in town. You don't get in your car because you're spoiled.
Yeah,
that's the way I feel.
I've never driven my car to go ride my bike around here.
One thing I've noticed that Bend is definitely a growing town. It is increased quite a bit in population, and traffic is quite noticeable. But there are ample places for people to ride. There are shoulders. There are bike-specific lanes. There's a lot of signage around the community that definitely helps support cyclists and where they need to go.
We have water, we have roads, we have trails. You can run, you can bike, you can hike. You can sort of choose. You can go paddleboard, you can go kayak down the Whitewater. There's such huge variety in our region and choice, and we've done a good job to keep expanding those possibilities and options. So I think that makes it fun, because you aren't just, racing your bike or riding your bike on the road, and you aren't just like doing the same mountain bike trail day in and day out. You can really shake it up, and then you've got these huge clubs and groups that just go out and play together. They play together, or they maintain the trails together, or they build together, or they come to city council and say, give us more bikeways, give us more bike lanes, right? And so we heard that in our budgeting session this year too. We have a huge priority in council this time around to not only be able to move through town in your car, but really make it safer to move through on your bike or on your feet.
It would be pretty hard to beat, especially if you consider anything within a half-hour drive or an hour drive, a little bit more. Oak Ridge, I did a ride that I haven't done before in Bend out of Santiam, Quartzville, and it was single lane, 8,000 feet of climbing with the creek next to you the whole time. That's a dime a dozen, and there's gravel roads every direction off of that. So I think there's more riding than even all of us could do in a lifetime around here. So
if you're from,
Ohio,
or something boring like Danville, California, something awful like that. It's a gorgeous, it's a gorgeous kind of world-class road ride, but we just take it for granted because we do it all the time. But it's beautiful. Look at this view, and I hate to say that I take it for granted, but I do, because
totally, and that's like the default loop. I wanted to go on an easy ride and chat with a buddy for 2 hours yesterday, and I did that loop because it's the easy one to do, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can get on dirt. If you're on the bad side of town, you can get on a single track within 4 miles or something, right? So that's pretty awesome. And that's, again, kind of what Carl was saying, is that we end up doing all those rides because we won't get in the car and go anywhere else. But it's pretty sweet when you want to do an hour loop and you can hit trail for it.
Oh my God. You guys ready for Pilot Mute now, right?
Hell yeah.
Gotta get one PBR in.
Oh no.
Yeah. Film on Thursday night, 6-pack of PBR.
Oh God. 500 feet a mile. Going up there. Speak well of me when you speak. That was it. I got the shot. I thought he was talking about tunnel vision. Alone again, naturally. It's funny you mentioned beer because there's one part of this whole thing that I talk about. I call it the pre and the post. It's a good coffee beforehand, and it's a great beer afterwards. Per capita, there seems to be more places to grab a really good beer here in this town than any other place. What are your favorites?
Oh man, where to begin? I would say whichever one's closest, really. You can't pick a wrong one, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm an IPA guy, so those are pretty strong right now, and everybody's got a bunch. Silver Moon, Deschutes, Crux, just to name the first ones that pop into my mind in no particular order either. They're all great. And there's also really good bars that have an extensive amount of beers also to try outside it.
Yeah.
Beers outside of town.
It's a beautiful town. I'm not going to lie. It's a beautiful town. There's a river running right through the center of town. There are people in the water even at this time of year. It's first week of April. There are people, river surfing. There are all kinds of things happening. This is an active place. And cycling is obviously a big part of it. I've seen a lot of people out on bikes. It is a Wednesday, and I'm seeing people more or less commuting. But we'll have to see as the afternoon progresses in terms of recreational. But it's bike friendly.
No, right here.
Okay.
He asked if there was a better place. There isn't.
Okay.
I mean, I like getting out and going places. I love riding in Sedona. I was like riding road bikes in Europe is awesome, but I don't want to live those places either. I want to live right here. We have a really nice balance of all the things that I need to be happy, and the riding is good enough.
Carl just made us all feel really bad.
Well, mostly like the used car market in Maui sucks, so that's why Carl doesn't
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean,
move there.
dude, there's like no influx
down
of
RVs.
good used cars in Maui. It's all the same
It's
shit.
stagnant. Oh, you got an Element? Cool.
Toyota 4x4
Yeah.
pickup with super muddy with big tires.
Yeah, like where's the fun in that?